General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Sturbridge Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation can be found on the town's website. It's https://www.sturbridge.gov, Town Administrator, Pages, How to Access Virtual Meeting. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting either online or via the town's on-demand video broadcast, on television, on channel 191, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455, enter 1428 # for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. This phone number is only active for the public during public meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay.
Kathy, did you come up with that password?
What password?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Oh, no.
Just easy.
I still just see the five of us. Like I said, we have a quorum. I'm just expecting Joni, and I hadn't heard from Mike. So we called the meeting to order. I don't have any reserve fund transfer requests. We were going to move into the line item budget. And as part of that discussion, since, salaries make up a big part of, basically in the most talked about part of the budget, I was going to have Jeff go over the new compensation plan that the town has or will have at some point, and that they had commissioned a study to take over. So, Jeff, if you could give us details of the plan.
It was adopted Monday by the Board of Selectmen. Let me pull up a document here.
And could you just let us know what document we're using? I know we were provided 5 that I sent out to everybody. Oh, you're going to bring it up on screen. Perfect.
Yeah. So this is basically the new plan. Currently, before we adopted the new plan, we had 19 or 20 different grades. Those have been compressed to 11. So the speech I've used for the past year or so was that there were 3 goals in relation to this new plan. The first goal was to provide separation between the administrative assistants because they were all getting compressed. The second goal was to revisit a merit-based plan for the salaried employees. And the third goal was to make sure that all the employees were compensated within their cohort in the market. And based upon those 3 objectives, I believe that this plan has accomplished all 3. As I said, the number of grades has been reduced from 19 to 11, and those grades, along with their corresponding positions per grade, are listed in this document. The bold boxes in this mean that those employees and those salaries are below the beginning wages of the grade. So if you look at the very far column on the right, 70th percentile, which was adjusted for our COLA for 2021, the grades, for instance, grade 11, the starting wage is $96,499. The top end of the range is $135,098, and it's the same as you go all the way down. And if you compare these boxed salaries to the beginning point in the range, you can see that it's below range, so those have to be brought into the range upon adoption, which we've done. Some of them were given longevity increases because they were below the starting wage of their grade and have been in their positions longer than 3 years.
So how did you just as plain 3 years? That's the...
Say again?
So if they were given an adjustment to go above the base of their thing because of their longevity, is it just, so 3 years was this? You've got one grade, if you're on here in 3 years.
I'm gonna pull up something else. So these employees, these 6 employees were in their positions longer than 3 years, right? So many were in 3 years, just a little bit more. One was in for 15 years, another in for 5. And depending on the graduated scale that's in the compensation document itself, they got a graduated, an additional step. So for instance, if you were in your position greater than 15 years, you got 3 extra steps. So there's that one position, that one employee starting at grade 4 in the new pay range. The ones with 3 years or 3 years to 8 years are starting at step 2, and so forth. So those employees got a longevity adjustment at implementation based upon their year in that position.
Implementation being July.
Now, implementation being immediately.
Well, okay.
Yep.
How would you fund these positions? You don't have any money.
I do. We put $100,000 in the budget for salary adjustments based on the new comp plan.
I thought that was explained to us, that was in there to account for the negotiations with the police department.
There were 2 reasons for that money. 2 reasons for that money.
And, just so did the police department?
So the police
Fire department?
and the compensation plan.
Okay.
Okay? So
Yep.
we're making immediate adjustments now, so everybody's going to be placed in their new salary grade at the next highest step, and then in July they'll get another adjustment. And I'll be.
I guess, I don't recall the salary adjustment part being part of that $100,000, but I'll just assume that it was. I don't know if anyone else can confirm or deny that one for me.
No, I do remember it, Kevin. It
All
was
right,
funny.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good for us.
Okay, so it's active now.
I have a question
So,
on that, Jeff. This is Jim.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead, Jim.
The question I have is an immediate adjustment now, and that is for everybody?
Everybody, all the non-union employees that are in a step and grade plan will see an adjustment to the closest step above where they are now. If their salaried employee is below the starting wage of the grade, they'll be adjusted to the starting wage of the grade unless they get a longevity adjustment as well. But yeah, everybody gets put in the new plan.
Okay, and that's the first step in my 2-part question. Because the number we see in the budget, which is the ultimate number here, which is the July 1st number, that is another step over and above what's happening right now. But that number, that percentage, doesn't include the compounding of this step you're doing right now plus the next step, which happens on July 1st.
Yes. Everything's been taken into account. The budget was based upon.
So that number on July 1st takes into account what I'll call the double hit.
Well, no, it takes into
The one
account
that-
the implementation of the plan.
I'm sorry, say,
No,
Well, no, I think Jim, if I understand Jim right, he's saying right now people were basically put into a step. And then on July 1st, they're going to get a second step increase. So basically, they're getting a double step in a period of few months. That's what's happening?
that was my question, but the bigger part of my question was that the number that is the budget number that's going to be effective on July 1st, the difference between what they're making last week and what they're making on July 1st incorporates both of these adjustments that are going to transpire as of July 1st.
that is.
That was my number.
That is correct.
That's-
Budget was built
Okay.
upon the new pay scale.
Okay. So this pay scale, right, but the new pay scale with an increase now, that's interim only until we get to July 1st, and then another one on July 1st, but that July 1st number is, as I just asked, is the difference between, say, what it was a month ago and what it's going to be on July 1st. It's going to cover both of these changes.
Right.
That's all, that was none of my question. Thank you.
So what about the people?
Could I just interject for a minute?
Okay.
And then what you need to know is when you're looking at the budget figures and the increases in the different lines for salaries, the number that was voted at town meeting for the fiscal 21 budget has not been changed to reflect what the new salary is for those positions. That money is sitting in the pay adjustment account that Jeff was speaking about. So the percentage increases that are going to look larger than what they really are.
Right.
I get you.
That was the point I was trying to make.
I thought so, Jim. That's why I wanted to interject.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Sure.
All right, what about situations where people were outside of their range to the high side? Have you frozen their salaries?
We didn't have anybody that had that issue.
It's right there in front of me on the line, the police chief.
Well, no, police chief, no. Well,
Police chief is
That-
getting 100.
go ahead. This is prior
Well,
to, these police ranges don't include the educational incentive numbers.
So you're basically the towns take over the Quinn bill.
Right.
That was, so just refresh my memory. How does that work? I remember it's like X percentage for a bachelor's, X percentage for a master's, X percentage for a doctorate. Do you remember what those numbers are?
Barbara, it's in the contract. I think it goes 10, 15, 25, something like that.
Yeah.
So what does the police chief get?
He has a master's degree. His all-in salary when we signed a contract was $144,000, or $142,000. I'm sorry, 142, all in.
So we should always, I guess I'm a little concerned then, you're saying people in positions in here who are members of a union don't have any of their union stipends or any perks from the union contract included in this.
These are non-union positions.
So the police chief is I guess is I mean, I know that Quinn bill thing was a contract thing in their union. So the police chief gets that as well.
It's in his contract, yes.
The $7,000 difference between the end of the police chief's line and the 142 that he got,
Well,
is that all educational?
these numbers here don't reflect the educational incentive. And when we went out and surveyed the other towns, we had to make that decision that does the police chief numbers from this town and the towns we surveyed include educational incentive, and since not every town does that, we stripped that out to base pay,
Oh, I see, okay.
okay? So this is base pay number. And then your educational incentive could be on top of that, and our police chief serves as the emergency management coordinator or emergency management director. And historically, there's been a stipend for that. There's an accreditation bonus in his contract. So there's a number of different layers in that compensation for the chief.
Well, the emergency management one has its own separate line item, so that $6,000 goes on top of that 145 as police chief.
Well, it's 142.
142, yeah.
It's
Can I
142.
just interject something?
Sure.
Jeff, the current top for the police chief is 135,097, but that's as of now. As of July 1st, that's going up 2%, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
Just because it's going to be across the board 2%. So that's going to go up about $2,700 over and above the 135 right now. So now you're
That's
5140.
base pay before educational incentive.
Right, so all the other stuff piles on to bring it up to the 145. Get it? Yeah. Thank you.
So the only other stuff that piles on to bring it to the 145 is the education.
It's 142.
Then where does the other three come from?
Where are you seeing 145 in the budget? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's with the 2% added in for an adjustment in July.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm talking about current salary, you're talking about July salary. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't.
Okay. No, I wasn't following that either. Gotcha.
Okay.
Neither was I.
So, when I read through this, I'm just curious. I mean, I read the criteria they used to pick the new comparison towns, and they're pretty much similar to the to the towns we had picked before, other than the one that says within 30 miles of the town of Sturbridge. So, what would have been the differences if we had left the comparison towns as they were and built this off of them?
I have no idea.
Can we understand why we decided to go with 10 new towns without comparing the validity of the 10 we had before?
GovHR uses their criteria in terms of ability to pay and economic factors when they pick comparison towns for evaluation purposes.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is Jim, that the documentation, the complete documentation for the outfit that did the analysis, that did this whole project, lists all the cities and towns that were included in the, shall we say, the menu of who they selected from. There was probably well over 100 towns they looked at a minimum, and they centered it down to whatever they ended up with. But there's a very high likelihood that some of the towns we used to use were eliminated as through this process.
Well, okay, so I'm going back probably a long time though. We used to use that same type of information for those comparison towns to negotiate the contracts with the unions. Is the plan now to change those to these new list of towns for the union negotiations as well?
I've not seen a comparison to these towns for union purposes in the most recent contracts files I've looked at.
So are you saying for the union contracts, we're still using the old 10 towns?
No, for the, I can't tell you what I'm basing negotiations on right now, because we're in negotiations with two groups. Just, we're using economic factors that are relevant to the time period and the positions.
So how do you know that you're then not overpaying any of the unions if you're not comparing it to roughly to the same thing these towns we're comparing everyone else to?
Because in a negotiation, even if you did believe you were overpaying somebody, you're going to have to come to an agreement somehow. And telling him, no, you're not getting any raises because we think you're overpaying in one position, that's not going to get you an agreement. So you look at other economic factors and you kind of come to an agreement on cost of living and cost of uniforms and cost of boots and working conditions and all those other things, it's really not all about comparison wages. And not all towns are the same. I look, not every town has the Quinn, and some people have more Quinn than we do. Some people give more shift differential than we do. They're not all the same.
But for 2023, Jeff, you're negotiating using whatever towns you choose at whatever point, or do you have a set list?
I'm using economic factors that I think are relevant to a negotiation.
Okay.
So we're measuring union employees and non-union employees on different scales.
No, not a bit.
So then when you say you're using economic numbers, you're using the same set of economic criteria that was used to put together this plan?
I think you're too much in the weeds, Kevin. Too much in the weeds.
Well, I'm looking.
We looked at, the 16 towns were surveyed for a very specific purpose, okay?
You disappeared, Jeff.
For a very specific purpose, to put together a new compensation plan, because we've done this 3 times in the past 7 years. Okay? So we did that.
And okay. I'm good with it.
So, Kevin, I'm on the personnel committee, and I'm going to tell you that I was quite impressed with the level of detail this firm went through. And Jeff will tell you, I think I had quite a few pointed questions at them, and I'll tell you, they were very, very specific, very clear. They were armed and dangerous with questions. I'll tell you, they were very thorough, and I told them at the end of several meetings how impressed I was with the level of detail they went through. And just because what we're seeing here, that has nothing to say, the conversation that we had just spoke more to it. I really was impressed with what they've put together. I've got to tell you.
Okay. I mean, I read the whole the presentation reads really, really well. I was just curious how far we were off base with our original 10 towns. And, we've been telling people for a very long time, this is how we've been doing our compensation package. So we're changing it slightly, and people should just be aware of that.
Well, again, I think to Jeff's point, how many times have we gone through this with the 10 towns since I've been on finance committee, and that's 12 years now, 10 or 11 years now. We've been through this at least 3 times, and I don't foresee that happening again. I think there's enough in here that the personnel committee can actually use this quite intelligently.
All right. Anyone else have any questions on the compensation plan?
I'm probably a lost cause, Jeff, but let me just ask you this. Is the difference or what different towns pay their non-union employees, is that just one of the factors you use to come up with this?
Well, overall, the 16 towns were similar to Sturbridge in their ability to pay. It was all about economic factors, different, types of revenue, percent, low mod, all these different economic factors, the tax collections, that kind of thing. And it's pretty detailed in the report what the factors were. So those 16 towns, based upon a number of factors, and I think I have a spreadsheet that I can send the committee. I thought I sent it last year to the group with points based upon the different factors, and the ones that had, I guess, 80 or more points in similarity to Sturbridge were used as comparison towns.
Right. It's explained in their proposal, just like you stated.
It's in the study.
And please don't take what GovHR did as a rejection of what the Finance Committee has done for years. It was a different take on the process. GovHR does this nationwide. The consultant we used was a manager in Massachusetts, understands Massachusetts finances, understands Massachusetts towns, and understands Massachusetts economics. So we were very fortunate that we had someone familiar with the state and the town's operation.
So Jeff, I'm not trying to make it seem that it's, I think the finance committee is being questioned. What I'm trying to do is answer for a taxpayer. Here's what we're adopting, why we're adopting, and the question of how does it differ from what we were doing in the past isn't here. That answer isn't here.
And I don't know
That wasn't
what
done.
we're doing in the past was relevant to what we did today. If what we did in the past was so rock solid, no offense, we wouldn't be doing this again. And I told this to the Board of Selectmen, we have to stop. The employees, every time, wait a minute, hold on, let me finish. The employees, every time you open up this can of worms, they get nervous. They need consistency, they need to understand how they're being paid, when they're being paid, what they're being based on, all those things, and we need to stop opening this up every chance we get. This is it. We did it, it was comprehensive, it was expensive, and we have a plan that is rock solid. But, and Barbara and I talked about this today, implementation of these things is messy because there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's a percent over here and a 2% over here, and this one's moving this much and this one's moving this much. It's messy. But I will say, based upon 49 positions evaluated, how many blocks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Out of 49 positions, only 11 were out of range. I think that's pretty good.
Well, 12 if you count the police chief, right? Because he's out of range on the other side.
Well, he's not, because his base pay is in the range.
Right, I'm sorry, yeah, you're right. Back to the base pay, gotcha.
So the new step and grade plan, there's 12 now steps and all those good things. So it's done. It's time to move on.
Mike, I saw you have your hand up.
One last question.
Sure.
All right, go ahead, Bruce.
Employees get nervous because they get worried that somebody in the next desk is going to get paid more than them, or somebody in the next town is going to get paid more than them. Is that why they get nervous?
No, they get nervous because everybody has, particularly in municipalities, everybody has an expectation, and it's regimented. July 1, this happens, and there's a time frame, and there's a percentage, and all these good things. You open this up, and in the personnel committee heard this. The salaried employees, those employees between grades 6 or the 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, and 11s, their increases are less now with the new plan than they were under the old plan. Okay? The 6s to 1s, their increases are greater under the new plan than they were under the old plan. So everybody gets an adjustment, and that's what makes people nervous. They don't know what the outcomes are going to be. They like predictability. They like to know that this is a stable process and there's some solidity to it. And I think that's what we have.
Thanks very much.
That's where we need to go.
Thanks very much.
Tim, I have an observation on that, Jeff. Because there are 12 steps now, it gives the employee who are in the progression a longer time horizon where they can feel more comfortable and the future is more predictable for a longer period of time. If someone's at step 4 and they know they can all go all the way to 12, at least over that next period of time, that next 8 steps, it's predictable. They can feel comfortable that they know what their future is year to year for a longer horizon. That's just an observation.
And that's very true. It's very true. Pete, the employees like to know and have predictability.
Then they can plan their own budget.
Yeah, so Kevin, this is my question comment was, we've gone through a process of maybe different towns than before, but we're coming out of this, and we're basically, the committee, the process says, we're establishing some pay grades for the positions for people working in town of Sturbridge. And we have a process that's predictable for everyone, going forward, not only employees, but taxpayers and everybody else. To what Bruce was saying there, I would hope that the way this is set up, or I would expect rather, that every employee on this list would be looking at this and saying, but if I went to this town over here, or if I look at my peer over there, they're making more money than me. Well, you've got a path, you know where you're going, you know what it is. We've established this thing. I hope we're not saying we're trying to be, the top paying town in all of the area. I don't know if we want to be that town. And every employer I work for, I have these conversations every year with employees. I understand you can jump ship and go to another company and make more money, probably. Yeah, that's just the way it is. You have to weigh a whole bunch of things, not just a paycheck that goes there. So I think we get the piece. The annual wage adjustment, the merit increases, the whatever. I think there's a lot of elements in here that I don't necessarily see implemented private sector and or other communities. It's like, I've got 2.5% to increase wages across the board. How am I going to allocate these across the people? Not necessarily give them steps. I think there is a generous side of this program, but I understand what you're trying to do in the fairness piece of it, to move people along. So after being here 5-10 years, they're not just making their general wage increase and falling further behind versus other opportunities. So.
Hey, Larry?
It seems to me that Jeff is right, that there's going to be messiness. It's unavoidable. And possibly part of the basis for the messiness is when things go bump, meaning there is the perception of fairness and or unfairness, and the actuality of fairness and unfairness. Sorting that out, I guess, is what they teach in town administrator school.
Yeah, I guess so.
And just so you're aware, not everybody was pleased with the outcome, right? And there were some conversations, and there's some people that, expected different outcomes. But we worked through it, and, that's it. It's messy. It's very messy.
So, Larry, though, I want to go back to your point from the beginning of the meeting. You just put to bed any conversation or any further conversation about it. So you're good with it?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
All right. So if there's no more things on the compensation plan and we're all good with it, we can move forward now into the line item budget. And I guess Jim's up first because, as you can see, we have, 6 meetings, 5 meetings? We've got a lot of stuff to do in 5 meetings. So the sooner we get started, the more votes we can take, the better off we're all going to be. So, Jim,
Am I cue to start?
Yeah, I'm going to say, please take the floor.
Okay. Yeah, I was with Jeff for an hour yesterday, and a lot of this conversation took place between the two of us yesterday, so it was nice job, Jeff, getting this out there clear to everybody. Thank you. The only thing I have, there's nothing for the Board of Selectmen to speak of. Jeff would handle that, but it's flat. So when I look at your town administrator budget, the only 2 things I think that we can touch on, you might want to touch a little bit on...
Jim, I don't mean to be pain in the butt, but let's just vote that Board of Selectmen. You're happy with it? I don't, if the, let's just
sure.
Move it, go.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen budget, line items,
It's just line item 1 for 36.
line item 1. I'll make the motion to approve that for the amount of $3,600.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kathy? Great. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
So Kevin, this is Mike. I guess I just got to ask here. Are we just going down a path this year of let's just vote line item budgets and the number at the end is where it is? we're going to take a bigger picture of, you know, what the overall financial situation is and what budget we're trying to strive for and see how it fits. I know we traditionally get deep into the budgets and the math just adds up in the end versus the larger discussion. I just want to throw it out again at the start of this process this year.
You're more than welcome to bring up the bigger picture. I mean, that's fine. I mean, we got to get through all the details though at some point. But
I'll say, let's tell you what, if we want to, we'll go through the end, and when we get to the end and we realize what the bottom line number is, we can have a discussion then of, you know, everything looked good in the budget, you know, here's where it totals. Are we okay with where we ended up in terms of spending this year? Or do we need to figure out whether we should reallocate between the town and the schools or pull some money back to get to a different bottom line number and then go back and figure out where we would do that?
that's fine with me. I'm more than happy. I mean, we've done it in the past, adjusting, you know, differing than the town administrators in the Board of Selectmen. If we find ourselves in that position, so be it. We'll just have to explain our position. All right, so I have a first and a second from the Board of Selectmen, so I'm going to just go in alphabetical order. I have a spreadsheet here with it. So Bruce, you're up first.
I vote aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Tony?
Yes.
Larry?
Aye.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kevin's a yes, and Jim?
Yes.
So that's 7-0 in favor. Great. All right, on to the next one. Thank you.
So there are only 3 items to look in Jeff's budget: his salary, Alex's his administrative assistant's wages, and Jeff, you may want to elaborate on what you did for Alex, but I think it's part of the process you just went through, as far as I know, as far as I can understand. The main thing that I wanted an explanation on, for you to cover a little bit and explain to us again, is this merit-based pay incentive. How is that going to be distributed, if it is distributed, to whom? And what are the limitations on that in terms of... we had this conversation, I know, yesterday, but for the sake of the rest of the committee, I think it's worth covering again.
Okay, the change for Alex McConnon is the implementation of the pay plan. She's below the starting wage in the grade, so she is being brought up in that, so that's a difference. The merit-based pay, the 7s, 8s, excuse me, the 9s, 10s, and 11s, they are still eligible for merit. Now, merit is no longer a lump sum check on top of a step and a COLA. There's no more steps for 9, 10s, and 11s. They move through the range by the merit pay, which is now added to the base. So that line item includes 3% merit pool, and I can award up to 3% to any one of those in the 9s, 10s, and 11s, but I cannot award more than 3% to any one person.
So, and Jeff, that new total with the 3% becomes their starting salary for the subsequent year, or is that just a floating figure every year? I would assume it becomes their new base.
It becomes a new base, that's correct. They're, yep.
So I'm just out of curiosity, a couple questions of how that number is composed, because you said it's basically 3% of the salaries of the 9, 10s, and 11s.
That's correct.
So is the police chief included in that since he's a salaried employee?
Yes.
I'm not salaried, I'm sorry, a contract employee. So his negotiation, he already...
He is eligible for a merit increase.
I mean, he's negotiated a contract for his salary and all that perks for 3 given years. Why would he be eligible?
Because his contract says he's eligible for the same rate of increase as the other salaried employees.
Okay.
That's not unusual, yeah.
But Kevin, you want to remember that the parties to the contract are the chief and the board of selectmen.
Mhm.
They have to answer.
Fair enough.
But we
So-
didn't say the chief's gonna get this, this, and this. We said the chief's getting this to start, and he gets the same opportunities as the other department heads do. That's all.
So then why does he have an employment contract if it's basically he's handled like any other employee?
Because it includes other things other than wages.
Other things that other town employees wouldn't be able to get, in other words.
It includes vacation time, it includes allowances, it includes other things. Basically, the reason the chief and the lieutenants now have contracts is because it incorporates a lot of what the union contract provides to the union members.
Okay.
So, this is my question. How many employees are we talking in these three grades?
Hold on, let me bring it back up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 employees.
Okay, and I don't want to pick on any individual employee because it's not an individual thing, but let's say I am one of those 8 employees. So if I go to my sheet and it says last year my department head salary was $90,000 and this year it's going to be $95,000. I assume that's just my step and grade that I progressed to in there. Or that's my general wage increase that you're putting in there, right? And then I would get this merit on top of that?
The COLA is shown in the individual department line item, the COLA.
Yeah.
The merit is included in this one lump sum number that's distributed based upon performance.
Gotcha. So if I'm a taxpayer, I'm looking at this thing and say, well, last year, Mike got $90,000 as his department head salary. Now he gets a COLA this year. His 90 becomes 95. I get the merit piece you're saying is going to get my base pay. So what happens next year? Now there's this disconnect that the line item was based on 95, but I got the 95 plus an extra 3,000 in here. I was really paid 98. How does that kind of line up with next year's number that's chosen there? It just seems like instead of taking this lump sum, it would make more sense to say, I've taken the $27,000 budget and I'm allocating it, 1% to this person, 2.5 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, and show it in the line item pieces.
But isn't the performance,
That's not what we do.
for the performance beginning July 1st, and you do it during the next fiscal year? For their
Well, the
performance
intent
review
would
for that
be-
merit fund?
Now, you got to remember, let's remember where we came from. We came from a situation with these people where they were getting 7% a year. Between their COLA, they're stepping on top of that, they were getting a 2 to 3% merit pool lump sum check. So now, rather than getting 6 or 7% plus another 2% merit check, they're capped at 5. Okay? So that, and wait a minute, this too shows up as a COLA in their line item, and then there's a possibility of up to 3% merit that I can distribute, which I intend to do based upon a performance evaluation. I'm going to do between now and July 1. And that's how the 7, wait a minute, let me finish. That's how the 9, 10s, and 11s will move through their range. It's a merit-based range, right? My takeaway from this conversation a year ago when we looked at the compensation plan is you wanted these salaries employees not on steps, but you want them on a merit-based plan. We created that for the 9s, 10s, and 11s, the 7s and 8s we left on steps for a very particular reason. It worked out. So this is what we're going to do. In order for those salaried employees, the 9, 10s, and 11s, not to fall behind their cohorts in other towns, they need to move through the range. They're going to move through the range by that merit component, and that's what's provided for in the compensation plan.
And I just want to be clear so I understand. So the plan is you'll give them their performance review sometimes in June, and then the percentage gets added July 1st for the next fiscal year.
That is correct.
Okay.
And that 5% is consistent with what you're doing for the step and grade positions, because there's 3% between them going halfway across the 12-step scale. In the second half, it's 2.5%, but you give them the 2%, and on top of that, they get 3%. So they're getting 5%. So if the maximum, so it's just a general sense of fairness comes out of this. If, 5% is, there's no one spiking up or getting left behind. That's just my impression of the way this works. I think I've read it about 50 times.
Jeff, I don't have a problem with what you're doing. I'm just saying because the change here is in the past, again, my line item would be 90,000 salary last year, 95 this year. Oh, by the way, Mike's eligible for a merit increase. I gave him $3,000 as a lump sum payment. When we go back to next fiscal years and say he made 90 2 years ago, he made 95 this year, I'm going to give him his we'll use the word COLA because you did. His salary is going to go to 100. He's eligible for a merit of about 3,000 a lump sum. But this year, when I get my salary went from 90 to 95, and then in June 1 you tell me, great job, Mike, you get an extra $3,000. It's now in your base pay. Your salary is going to be $98,000 next year. Then you go to the following fiscal year and give me my COLA. It's all for the 98, not the 95. And it's going to look like the COLA piece is a lot bigger in that line item. And that's where I was just seeing a disconnect. We'll need to be doing some explaining next year.
I think that you need to, this was just adopted by the Board of Selectmen on Monday night. I need to figure out how we're going to account for that, because I agree with what you're saying, Mike, which is why I started at the beginning of the meeting to Jim's comment that the percentage increases right now look greater than they really are. And that's what you're talking about going forward. So we need to figure that out. Just give me a couple weeks to, maybe next week I'll have the answer for you. But like I said, this was just adopted Monday night. We really haven't talked this through, but I understand that we're going to have to account for that somehow to make the numbers reflect what they really are.
This is what I did in my last town, and it was every year you had to explain it, that, the merit component was distributed based upon performance, and it's an adjustment. It is what it is.
That's part of the plan.
I think you just showed as the accepted budget next year for fiscal year 22 as whatever the base plus the COLA plus the thing is, and that's the accepted budget because that's it.
And then people are going to pull out the old book and say we're moving numbers around because they didn't match up with what we put in the report last year.
Well, no, that's not true, because that's not true. The finance
we have to
committee
move away from yesterday. This is about tomorrow. I get we have to do some explaining, and I'll be happy to do that at town meeting for as long as it takes. As long as it takes. But this is different.
Right.
And, it's just new. It's fine. It's just different. And it's explainable. That's all.
Yes, it is. You should be able to explain. So, if someone's salary jumps, like Mike's talking about, from 90 to 98, well, their COLA was 95, but we got their 3% from this, merit-based incentive line item. That's where it came from. It transferred from there.
Correct. And you need to know that the budget changes all the way through the year. You can't just go back and look at what happened, what was voted at town meeting. If you do a reserve fund transfer during the course of the year, that increases an individual's budget. And so that will not be the number that was voted at town meeting. So the budget is constantly in flux.
Okay.
I'm going to ask that you not vote this budget though yet, because I need to make adjustments to the merit pay line based on some of the adjustments to some of the salaried positions that I was just given.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? No, forget that. You can vote it because it didn't affect anyone in those grades. So you're good. Go ahead. Sorry.
Unless
right,
you
Jim.
put that merit in the employee's line item as a wage increase from day one, you're gonna have to make that explanation. That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, and I think it's explainable. I don't think this is an impossible task.
Right.
But Mike is right, it needs to be explained.
Needs to
You
be
just
explained.
can't. So Jim, you're back on.
Okay. So we're looking at, yeah. So, I'll make a motion that, we accept line 3, the amount, excuse me.
No.
That's line 3, in the amount of
2 and 3.
220. Pardon me?
You got,
Line 2, I'm sorry, line
Yeah.
2, in the amount of $222,785.
I have a second?
Second?
Kathy? All right. Any further comments, questions? I forget the actual word I'm supposed to use. But moving, so then we'll move into a vote. So Bruce?
Yeah.
Is that a yes? Okay.
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jim?
Yes?
All right, so 7-0. All right, so now you got line item 3.
Line item 3, I'll make a motion that we approve or recommend to our meeting the amount of $256,435, which includes the line 2 total.
All right.
I think line 3 is 33,650.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading the grand total. I'm sorry, thank you, Mike. I need my eyes examined. You're right, the amount is $33,650 for line 3, which in combination with line 2 totals $256,435.
Perfect.
Second?
Kathy seconds. Great. Any discussion? I think that's what I'm looking for. Discussion.
Oh, rusty, huh?
Yeah, I am. And, okay, then we'll go into a vote. Bruce?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Joni?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Kevin's a yes. And Jim?
Yes.
7-0. Great. Okay. So, I mean, so the finance committee is pretty much straightforward. So I would make the motion then that we vote the personnel costs at $3,873. A second.
Second, Mike.
That's Mike? All right.
Kevin,
Okay,
can I make a suggestion?
sure.
There's no issue with a department budget. Why don't you just take a vote for lines 4 and 5? Because you have to do roll call every single time, which is just chipping away at minutes for this
Yeah.
meeting. Or you could just go through as many budgets as you can, and then if there's no issues with anyone, at the end, take one vote for the specific line item.
Yes, in fact, Barbara, you're exactly right. We adopted that. I think we sort of forgot about it. But we did do that last time around.
All right. So we'll do one budget in total here at $7,273. Mike, are you still go with seconding that?
I am.
All right. So your first and second discussion. All right. So now we'll vote this. I'm still good. So we're just doing the whole the whole department at once. So Bruce?
That's right. It's this, Kevin, just and for everyone else as a reminder, it is as if the moderator in the town meeting is going through the budget and waiting for holds. If there are none, at the end, that is what we can do here. That is what Barbara's talking about, and that is what we did last time.
Did we? I think we did it
Yes.
one department at a time because we can't do the whole budget at once.
No, but at the end of the discussion, you can vote the specific line items just to conclude the evening, and then we can pick up at the next meeting. It's just not as quick as, you know, it's like I said, you're chipping away at meetings every time you have to do roll call for minutes of this meeting.
I get what you do. So Kevin, I'm gonna make it, let me keep the set of notes for you. Instead of voting this, what we're saying is, Finance Committee, what lines are these? 4 and 5?
4 and 5.
Okay. We've all agreed to those numbers. Let's not vote. Let's move forward. We'll keep a list of how many line items that we've approved. We'll go back and make one motion that includes 16, 17, 18 line items.
All right. All right,
When we
let's
get-
go that way. All right. Thank you, Barbara.
Exactly.
Can I?
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Mike.
And Larry, you might have to do this, but other committees and boards I serve on, because of this type of voting thing, basically the chairman of the committee will say, is anybody opposed? And if no one votes against it, then we just write down a unanimous yes vote and we're done. But I don't know if that's...
Because we're remote, you have to do votes by roll call right now.
Okay. Thank you. You answered my question. Thanks, Bob.
All right. So are we ready for town accountant?
So the town accountant's salary is not the correct salary at the moment. So we need to skip over that right now till your next meeting.
Okay.
That got moved up a grade on Monday night, isn't it? Barbara, is that the one they changed from a 7 to an 8?
It is. And I just
Okay.
didn't have time to to get to that for tonight.
Okay.
All
So
right.
the next one would be me.
Yep, go ahead.
Whatever.
Wait a second, but we're okay with purchase of services and supplies, which is line 7, right?
Jim, you have the account?
I
Yes,
don't
I
have the
am.
account. No, Kathy does.
I thought I had that one.
Okay.
Yes.
So are you good with purchase of the total expenses in the town accountant?
Yes, they're actually slightly down, yes.
All right,
I
so
think
seven's
all
good,
the
Mike.
travel went down. Is that right, Barbara?
Yes.
It seems fairly consistent, so, yes.
4, 5, and 7 were good. All right. Assessors, Jim?
The assessor, just an observation. I analyzed the numbers and they're exactly what Jeff talked about. The rate changes to the new rate. It goes up, I believe it's the 2%, and then it moves up the scale to the next level. This 91,114 is a plug number into the scale the new scale that we're using as of July 1st. It's right on the number. So I analyzed it. I don't think there's any...
Just one question here, and I guess it's for Barbara. So based on this new pay scale we've just adopted, why is there still a longevity line item?
Because longevity is provided in the personnel policies of the town. Has
So it's
nothing to
not
do with the pay plan.
Okay, so it's a stipend outside of their salary?
No, it's a benefit based on longevity in the town.
Okay, benefit's a good way to explain it then. Okay.
So Kevin, what I would hear other towns say is, when you get a long-term employee and they're here so many years, they only get their general wage adjustment, or COLA, as Jeff likes to say, at the end, and this is an opportunity to get that little extra besides just that. That's how some other towns use this longevity piece.
So, Jeff, I guess this goes to you. Was this discussed at all at the Board of Selectmen's meeting of getting rid of this benefit?
No.
Because of our new policy? No? Okay.
The Board of
it-
Selectmen are very interested in promoting longevity of their employees.
You got cut off there. I heard promoting and that was it.
The Board of Selectmen are very interested in promoting the longevity for town employees.
Will they get that in your new plan? Okay. Go ahead.
So, any questions on the salary for the assessor? If we move down, the salary, the wages for the admin are right in
I
line.
would put a hold on 8.
Okay. On hold on what, Kevin?
8.
For what reason, Kevin?
I'm not, with going to the new plan, I don't see longevity as a valid.
Longevity wasn't considered as part of the compensation plan. It's in the personnel rules, separate and distinct from the pay plan. Much like vacation time, much like the payout for vacation time, much like other things in the personnel rules.
Personal days. It's also something that's provided to other employees beyond non-union employees. It's a standard benefit.
When did they begin receiving it, Barbara?
It's been several years.
No, I mean an employee, their first year?
Oh, no, you have to be, it's 5 years is when it first kicks in. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I want to say one other thing about all of this. Even though we did the compensation plan and the longevity, we still have a huge, and I consider this a big problem, with retention, particularly in police and fire, because we charge the employee 40% of their health insurance, which is unheard of in the municipal marketplace. It's a huge number. And that is an incredibly it's not an advantage to us when we're recruiting people. So that's going to be a long-term issue to resolve if we want to retain, particularly police and firefighters, because it's a big deal.
The health coverage is the same for.
It's the same, yes. Everybody, school, town, everybody pays 40% if they want the health insurance.
That's not competitive with the private workplace, I'll tell you that.
Or other towns.
That's tough. What's that?
Or other towns.
Or other towns, but that's a lot of money. That's a big percentage. So are we gonna move through this? Are you gonna?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so, both of these wage and salary, are right in line with the new pay scale, so unless we wanna dissect them, we can go right to line 3, and I'll make a motion to approve.
No, we're not making a motion, Jim.
Oh, okay.
I've got it written down.
So no objection to that, and then I'll go to, purchase of services, and that's pretty consistent. I don't see anything dramatic there. Does anyone have any protest to that? I can look up my notes, but Ann was pretty well versed in what some of the increases were in terms of she has no control over those their charge increases from outside vendors that we have to pay. So if we want their services, so the next number is the what is it? The 33,791 on line 9.
Okay. Are we ready for Finance Director, Kathy?
Yeah, so I have to confess, I haven't talked to too many of my department heads because it's a busy week. But anyway, as far as the finance director's salaries, again, they're in line with what's going on in here. And then in that's the 242,305 total. And then in the purchase of services, supplies actually went down. And if you look at the actual the update, it looks like it's the real estate and personal property bills went down to 0. Barbara, why is that?
Because we're using a bill printing company now.
Okay.
So envelope costs and some of the the actual bills that we were buying did go down, and I adjusted accordingly.
And it's too bad, I don't know if the cost is.
And I have just one question, Kathy, for you, and this is just for the record. What is the stipend under the?
Okay.
But there's a special law for, I think it's
Certified.
Barbie, no. that she's gotten certain certifications. Isn't that right, Barbara?
Yeah.
And so I think there's one for the town clerk as well. It's somewhat similar. And if she met those criteria, she gets that stipend because we accepted that law, I believe it was, several years ago. So the total expenses are actually down 6.2% overall. So it's 33,500. Nobody has any objections.
So this is Mike. Barbara, how has the shift to the new bills, I clearly see them coming in the last 6 months or so. How's that worked out compared to your expectations? And part of that was trying to free up, some of your staff from processing some things. Are you seeing people sending them to the lockbox and less payments being processed through your office, or they're just being mailed from a different spot, but you're still doing the same amount of processing?
We're definitely getting less. I mean, most people, well, I shouldn't say most. A lot of people are using the PO box method to the lockbox company. We are still getting a lot of payments in the office, and a lot of people have begun utilizing the locked payment box in the back of the building. I think people got used to doing that all through COVID while we were closed to the public, and that's fine. It definitely has helped to alleviate, some of the pressure during high collection times, and it has allowed my staff to be able to concentrate their efforts in other areas instead of just opening mail. So it's definitely a good thing. It's still new, and we get a lot of phone calls making sure that it's legit, that they should mail their bill to a P.O. box in Reading.
When I got the first one, I was thinking you were getting phone calls as well when I saw that there. So,
yeah,
right.
I tried to do an explanation, but they, you know what, and it's good. People question the explanation letter too, but there's so many scams out there that I totally understand, and I'd rather take a phone call than have someone, get taken by a scam.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Barbara, just one clarification question. As far as the line item, is stipend the official name of the category, or could we put certification stipend in there?
We could probably change it to certification stipend.
It just makes it cleaner for everyone, so I don't know.
It is something that's earned.
Yeah, and the detailed sheet, it's called certification stipend.
Now, I don't know what the name of the account is, like for the accountant, but we can add that. That's fine. I will make a note.
Okay, thank you.
And Jody, I know I didn't get your email. We can chat later, but I tried sending you the report, except I couldn't connect from home to my work computer to do that, unfortunately. So I will get that to you. Sorry.
That's fine, thanks, Bob. No, that's okay. I sent 3, I think it was on my end. It was not letting me send anything to the town of Sturbridge email, so I don't know.
Okay, yeah. Okay, Kevin had mentioned it, and I was like, I didn't get an email from her, and I looked again, but now I can't connect anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
That's okay. I sent it to Kevin. I copied Kevin as well in case, but he got my email. You didn't. You still didn't.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Town council, Bruce, that's you, but that's pretty much a fixed expense.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We increased it slightly because we were notified that on July 1st there's going to be a slight price increase for what council charges.
Are we still using the same council we always have?
Yeah.
So, anyone got problems with 12? All right, information technology. Yeah.
Is that back to me?
Yes.
All right, well, I'm about to see my pants here. Let's see, the salaries are up consistent with the policy, and actually, again, the purchases, or the buy and all that is down because the capital outlay is down. We were buying less computers this year. Is that right, Barbara?
Yeah.
I didn't hear, I know there was a note in there somewhere that we had bought, in one year, we had bought more than normal because something or other was expiring. And
So Windows 7, when Windows 7 came to end of life, we had to upgrade a lot of our computers and we bought new computers. And so
Right.
we were a little bit ahead of schedule.
We bought a lot.
So that's the
with
reason.
grant funds too.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's down $26,000, the capital outlay, which is for the computer. So overall,
Just one question, are we buying, like, workstation, like, base or laptop-based computers?
We're buying VIC-20s.
We,
20s?
You never,
what?
you never heard of a VIC-20? That was like 1984 type stuff.
Oh, okay, I thought you were talking about a Trash 80.
Yeah, there we go.
Remember their old radio?
No, the Atari 2600. No, we're buying a mixture of laptops and desktops. Yeah.
Okay.
Radio Shack's been out of business for a while, Jeff.
Radio Shack, those were awesome.
So have you heard about Fortran and COBOL?
Yeah.
Those are new languages. Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I know those, or did.
I've heard of them.
You've heard of them. So does anybody have any other questions or issues with the information technology?
Yeah, this is Mike. Vehicle GPS systems, social media. There's a bunch of new things in here, and I think I recall what we're doing with Charter. But if you can just confirm, just kind of run through the new things at the bottom of that list.
well, there's 10 accounts, social media accounts that need to be begin being archived, and so that's something new, and I know that's something that Jeff had asked for Jeremy to look into and to budget for. There's $4,500 budgeted for a website update and redesign. So that's new. And last year we had discussions about moving all the costs for Charter into the IT budget from the individual departments, and so I did do that in this year's budget. So that increased slightly because of that, but you'll see the corresponding decrease in the other budgets. And then we're doing a continuation of the phone system upgrade. So we had done an upgrade for the town hall, center office building, and library a few years ago. We're now going to expand that to include an upgrade for the senior center and the DPW. And that's pretty much it, unless you have any other questions.
And the vehicles that are getting a GPS, is that like highway, or is that the animal control and the shared vehicles?
The GPS is the police cruisers, and there was money in their budget that's now been reallocated to the IT budget. So you'll see it zeroed out in the police budget, and now it's in the IT budget.
I won't question the need for a website redesign. I thought it was fairly new in a couple of years, but if we run short of money at the end of the day, we can come back and look at those line items.
Well, it's been several years, and it.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Barbara.
I'm sorry, Jeff. No, go ahead, Jeff.
The Board of Selectmen have asked for an upgrade on the website to be more, I don't know, just better. It's not very welcoming. I guess that's the feedback we're getting. So if you look at other towns, it's much, the pictures are broader, they rotate through, easier to navigate. So the board asked us to take a look at that and see what we could do with the website.
But isn't our current website based on a template from the company that hosts it?
It's based upon the least expensive template they offer. The revised one steps us up a grade in terms of features and graphics.
Okay. I mean, that is key nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So you're done with IT?
I'm done. If you're done.
So I'm just wondering, so we're up through line 14 so far, great. Town clerk, who's got that?
That's not me.
Oh, that's Bruce. Bruce, you have a chance to get to her yet?
Oh, I'm just looking at it now.
Ruby? So is the town clerk considered certified too, or is that stipend just during case?
She is, she just received her certification this year.
Okay. So we'll just make that certification stipend too.
Yep, I've already done it. The biggest change in this budget is Lynn had a dog licensing software program that she was having some issues with. And so the Estella program, the permitting program that the land use divisions use, also has a dog licensing component. And so Lynn is looking to transition to that in the coming year. And so that's why if you look at the detailed sheets of the town clerk's budget, you'll see, and it was a minor amount of money. It was only about $400, but that's been zeroed out. And she's going to go to using the Estella software program. Other than that, everything is consistent.
How much did that software cost? I remember when that was purchased a few years ago.
Which one? The Estella?
The dog whatever it was, the new dog licensing.
So the dog licensing program that she uses now, they've been using it for quite a while. It goes back to even prior to Lynn being the town clerk.
Did Lorraine implement it towards the end of her tenure?
I don't know, honestly, Joni, how long they've been using it, but it's been quite a while.
Okay.
And there's issues that it's not a large company. It's just getting more difficult for her to maneuver the software. And seeing as Estella has a dog licensing component to it, she was going to go that route and see how it worked.
So we're not losing any, annual fees, or we're not breaking a contract or anything like that?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No.
We're just not having somebody's dog end up on the election ballot in April, that's all.
All right.
16.
Elections and registration, I don't see that. Oh, no, that's Bruce again. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, I think so.
So 15, 16. So are you good with that, Bruce?
I'm just looking now. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a question. Why are the salaries and wages actually more when there are less elections in 22 than there were in 21? I mean, in 21 there was the presidential, there was the state primary in September, and then this town election. That's 3 elections. And I think this coming year there'd only be, what, 1?
No, 2. Wait, Barbara, we can't hear you. Barbara, you gotta go up.
Sorry, my husband's on a work call too, so I'm trying not to have us overtalk each other. There was a question as to whether there was 2 or not, the local and then a primary. And Lynn also wasn't sure whether or not early voting was going to be required, which does have a cost. The cost that you see there was actually additional costs with the election that just happened because we were able to pay some of those costs out of our CARES Act funds because they were all of the different stipulations that came with voting were directly related to COVID, and so they qualified. So it is more than what you're seeing, but I can circle back if you want to wait with and talk to Lynn about whether that number can be looked at.
I think it's only 1 election in fiscal 22. Because the state primary is always in the fall, so wouldn't it just be the town election?
I thought she said something about potentially something in March. I don't know, Kathy. I'd have to get more information for
Well,
you.
you do have
What-
a town election next year.
Well, yeah, but that's it, but there's no state elections until the fall of 2022, which would be the following school year.
All right, why don't we just hold the salaries line and let me get some more information for next week, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
You good with 8, Kathy?
Yep.
Okay.
Up.
All right. So, conservation. That's you, Jim. Jim, you're on mute.
Maybe something good about that.
Now I'm on. Okay, so I met with Becky last week. Let me just get my notes. There wasn't anything dramatic. The salary is consistent with what Jeff has laid out. It's just been 1, 2, 3 right down the line with the 2%, and then the steps. The number is right on.
Sorry, if I could just interrupt for a second. So that, we need to hold on that,
Is there going to be a
salary.
change?
Yes.
Is that something the BOS changed on Monday?
Yes.
It was part of what they adopted, yes.
Okay.
So they decided to go on.
They
I'll have
adopted
the
something?
number for you for next week.
Okay.
Okay. But
So-
the number that's here, just so I'm clear, I want to be clear, it calculates according to, Jeff, I'm directing this at you, it calculates according to the new wage schedule, doesn't it?
It does, but
It
this
plugged
was
the
one of
number, I mean-
this was one of the positions that will receive a longevity adjustment at implementation.
Okay. Okay. I know that's been kind of a rub
So
for a couple
how
of years.
big of a longevity? 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps?
This one's one step.
1?
There are others that have more, but this one was one step.
And this was something that happened Monday night? I
That's
didn't see the
correct.
whole meeting. I watched. Okay. Watched most of it, but not all of it. Okay. As far as the, so we'll hold that line. The
Yep.
salaries and wages for her admin, can we talk about that?
Yes, you may.
Because that changed. If you recall last year, the basic amount was supplemented with money from, what is it, there's a fund.
Wetlands,
Pardon me?
Wetlands Protection Act.
The Wetlands Protection, we were drawing about $10,300 out of that to augment that basic salary. What's that? So what we've done, what's happened this year, and I had this conversation with Becky and with Jeff, we've reduced that supplemental amount out of the Wetlands Protection Fund. We've cut it in half, and we've made up the difference by funding in the budget the other $5,000 in salary. So other than that, it's by the book, but it's still, if I'm not mistaken, it's around $5,000. Is that correct, Barbara or Jeff, that we're supplementing that out of the Wetlands Protection Act fund?
Yes,
Okay.
approximately. I don't have the exact number with me, but yes.
Approximately,
Yeah.
So other
So
than
why are
that,
we reducing the supplement? Because there isn't enough funds in there, or because, for some other reason?
I have an
It's
opinion on
drawing
that.
down the funds faster than they're accumulating.
Thank you.
And I also feel, from my standpoint, that's not what the funds are intended for. To have her go to meetings and take minutes and so forth and use, I mean, that's just my one man's opinion, but, so that's essentially all that is there, but we can't vote on the total because we have to wait, for the adjusted figure. Do you want to talk about purchase?
Yeah, we can, that's a different line item, so if you
Yeah,
go
we can approve that because that's pretty flat. There's, the only thing that Becky mentioned to me in conversations there is down the road, she'd like to see more training for herself when the budget can afford it for herself, and also the Concom members to get some more training to better understand regulatory stuff and do their jobs. But and the only other thing that came up was, if you notice on the detail, there was $5,000 that's been taken out that was used for consulting services, but that's in that fund that Jeff set up that he controls now that has $20,000 for consulting services. So everything along that line has to be funneled through him to get funding for those type of things. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that my correct understanding of that?
Yes, we've kind of collated all those things into one line item for engineering.
So, and I think we had that conversation before now. We might have been thinking that around a year ago, thinking about doing it. So, other than that, I have nothing else to add. Are there any questions on
on line item 20?
Oh, is it still on?
All right, so then let's go to town planner.
What?
Everybody's got,
Jim?
I'm sorry. I have the town planner, and I'll be seeing Jean tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So I haven't talked to her yet.
All right, so skip 2122. ZBA, is that you too? Yep.
Yeah,
So-
I'll be talking both of those with Jean.
Yep. Economic development, that is Karen. Barbara, can I get you to talk to that budget, if there's anything there we should be aware of, because Karen's probably not going to be able to meet with her department.
Just last year when we ramped that up to 35 hours, we shifted that cost to STA, so they picked up a majority of the new hours. So this year, we split it 50-50 STA general fund, and that's really where that big difference is in that salary line. So
50 with STA, okay.
Yep.
And is that position filled right now?
Yes, Terrence Masterson has been with us for 4 months now.
Okay, thank you.
So, Jeff, this is Mike. I'm, again, trying to understand what the expectation is for this position, and how do we know we're getting, economic development, new businesses and stuff coming into town as a result of, us funding this position here? How do we measure success here?
That's always difficult with economic development, and I've always told myself I never want to be an economic development director because it's difficult, almost impossible to measure success. You could be as busy as a one-armed paper hanger and nothing happens, or you could be at the right place in the right time and it rains new opportunities on you. So I judge Terry's success by the possibility he has in the community, business practices, dealing with those opportunities and making the most of the opportunities we do have, making contacts with realtors and exploring new opportunities on vacant sites. Terry brings 20-plus years of experience, almost 30 years experience to the job in different states and different communities. He's done a lot of analysis on the market. He knows everybody at the state when it comes to opportunities and funding sources. He's worked well with the STA already to implement marketing plans and so forth and so on. So, and it's not just about bringing home the bacon, it's about how you communicate with the public, what you do for your existing businesses, how you provide resources when you can, how you provide support when you can. So measuring success with economic development is a very difficult thing.
And I think part of that is, certainly you got a vacant piece of land, you go out and attract somebody and get a building put on it, that means success. On the other hand, you might have some existing businesses that are, need a little bit of help, need some grants, lots of money out there available from the state to upgrade some buildings, some properties, some businesses. If part of this role is helping them, chase down that money and opportunities, grow, stay in business here, that's another level of success that we could be looking for as well. All right, thank you.
Just a question with this one. Is this a considered, 9, 10, 11, you know, where it's in the 2%?
No, this is 7.
No? So 7, this position is in, the new chart and it's all accounted for here.
Yes,
And then we just take it, divide it by 50, and we're divided by 2, so it gets split up.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll go, anyone problems with 24 and 25, and we'll accept that too, and move on. All right, facilities. That mean? I should put these in alphabetical order. That's Bruce again. Bruce, anything about facilities we should worry about?
The only issues with facilities, the building supplies for the town hall, center office building, and the senior center have all been budgeted under the facilities supplies budget. It will be being done that way going forward. So you see when you get to those building budgets that the supplies have been zeroed out.
Okay.
And then there's a $4,900 request in here for electrical updates at the town common. I guess several of the outlets aren't in compliance with code. And in order to repair that, the pole and panel need to be updated with new outlets. So that's, other than that, it's pretty standard from what it is year to year in this budget.
Anyone questions, comments on lines 26 or 27?
Actually, let me just add one more thing. The custodians, the salaries and wages, we moved, there was a part-time custodian at the senior center. He has since retired, and so the money for that custodian has been taken out of the senior center budget and has been put under facilities for Robin to manage all the custodians. So that's the only other change.
Okay. So how many custodians in total are FTEs? 2.5, 3?
No, all of them are part-time.
No, right,
All of them are?
yeah.
We've used the CARES Act funds to contract with a cleaning service for the library and some of the other buildings, so we've been fortunate to keep it the enhanced disinfecting of these buildings together. And once COVID is over, we'll go back to using the straight-up part-timers to keep the buildings clean.
And this is Mike. So this budget is just having the staff and some supplies in here. The actual maintenance costs of individual facilities are carried in future facility budgets here. So if we're making sure that the town hall is up to snuff and all its repairs are being made and some of the other facilities, we'll see that detail in the other budgets for those particular facilities, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So any problems with, any questions, comments for 26 and 27? All right, 28.
Good. Mine worked into, I mean, I had to take it for a week, but.
That's not.
No,
All right, 29?
I said I have a whole box of pounds. That was the one I only took them one day, and she says that.
Okay.
So I guess this is Mike. So in general, Jeff, you know, these are pretty level budgets, and not seeing, you know, changes one way or the other. So we've got adequate costs, no pressing issues like heating systems and other stuff in these buildings that needed to be addressed, roof or anything.
Well, COB has a mold problem in the basement right now, so we got to tackle that now. So Robin's working with a remediation company. We're going to have to empty out the basement, clean it, disinfect the files, and then the capital budget includes some new shelving that may provide better storage opportunities down there, but the basement's off limits for now.
So line item 30, senior center, the building.
That's me, and I did talk to Leslie, but then she had to run to lunch distribution when I was on the phone with her. But anyway, the supplies are down because they've eliminated. It looks like they've zeroed out the building and ground supplies to zero. And like I said, I didn't get a chance to talk to her about that. Barbara, do you have?
That's one of those budgets that we moved it under facilities.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know she had mentioned the custodian to me in her regular budget, but we hadn't gotten that far. And actually the purchase of services is down $1,000, or no, not even $500. Looks like, yeah.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's pretty much
normal.
level funded, yeah, or quite normal, yeah. The building.
All right. Joshua Hyde Library belongs to you too.
Oh yeah, wow. Moving along here slowly was it's been a bad week. Anyway, let's see. 36. Let me look at it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing new in here. It is just level service.
Just a regular building. Yeah, it is. Yeah, pretty much level funded, except for the purchase of services. I'm trying to find that one. Sorry. 19.
Yeah, what's the 1590, right? Basically.
Let's see, the elevator expense went up a little bit. The fire alarm. I mean, they're all fairly minor, just adds up to that much more. And then pest control, I do remember seeing that is up a bit too. Altogether, that's the pretty much the difference. I think I noticed a few budgets went up in pest control, so I don't know if we have a problem there or you're paying more attention to it.
We have to put it out to bid, and the services changed slightly over the previous bid, and the price went up.
So that is the library building.
Okay. Any questions, comments on line item 31? All right. That's good. 32. Mike, that's you in the safety complex.
I haven't talked to folks over there, but yeah, again, in reviewing this budget, you know, the purchase of services is basically a level funded budget. The only change is the charter services being removed and consolidated in the one line item over there. Otherwise, it's business as usual for all the various annual and maintenance items that are going on there. And then the supply piece, again, generally level funded, but just new lighting in the dispatch area that's needed, and some new mailboxes for the police department. So it's some minor little upgrades in this year's budget in that section. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions or comments on the safety complex budget?
Yeah, Larry here for Mike, or maybe Jeff. I think the front door, the entrance the general public, including tourists, goes through, I think it's kind of a down at the heel look. Is that going to be spruced up?
Yeah, Robin's got a list of things that need to be addressed over there from an aesthetic point of view. That door looks pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we were last year.
Is there any sense of when that might be acted on?
I can ask Robin.
I think they are working on it now, and Mike, you are correct. We did find money for that.
Outside, and it's probably rough.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I've had the fire around the last couple of nights.
Hey, Bruce?
Yeah,
Is that someone in the background talking at your location?
yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you. All right. Safety complex nursery school. Are you guys back?
That's me again. So it's actually down by, I believe, $120. The repairs went down 500, but then they added pest control services for 380. So the total budget is down 580, down $120 from last year. So it's pretty much level funded.
Any questions or comments for the nursery school then?
So there is a big line item in the capital for it, for fire safety, I believe, but that's another day.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yes.
All right, 8 Brookfield Road. So, I don't know if that's on anyone's agenda, because I
I
don't
don't
see
know if it's even there.
It's 0, so you should be good.
What's going on with that building now? I mean, we still own it, technically. Aren't we winterized?
We're preparing an RFP to go out for a reuse to see what we can get from people who want to buy it or lease it and reuse it or tear it down and rebuild something else. So those RFPs should be out on the street within the next 60 days, and we'll see what we get.
So we do absolutely nothing as far as maintenance then at this point. It's sealed, weatherproofed, and we're just going to let it stand for now.
It'll stand as long as it stands up. It's not very stable.
Okay.
I mean, the insurance, there's like $3,000 of insurance costs in the insurance budget for that building alone. A vacant building under Maya's plan has a separate policy. It's expensive. So.
All right.
There's two things I remember about that building. One is that there's some type of, I don't know if it's a water or sewer line or a brook that's enclosed in piping, but there's a flow that goes under that area, that lot. The other thing is, I had a conversation, I think it was with Russell Chamberlain a year or two ago, and in the town improvements that were on paper for years in that end of town, there was a question as to whether or not if we gave up that property, fire apparatus could get to that end of town, and there was some compromise with fire apparatus. So I'm just pointing that out. I don't know the particulars on that, but he did express to me a concern about that. That if we lost control of that corner piece of property, we could have a problem. For what it's worth.
34, and then we're good. So we're into the police department, which is 35 and 36. And Mike, are you prepared for that, or you want to hold off?
I still need to follow over the chief, but let me ask the committee if they have any particular questions here, because we did hear from the chief. He's got, as we have for like the last 35 years, level service, no new police in there. There's the issue about the reclassification of one of the staff to a lieutenant. Maybe Jeff can let us know where that stands relative to salary piece. But the rest of this budget, he went through at our budget meeting, and really no significant changes on here. So if the committee has questions, I can take them back to the chief. Otherwise, I'm okay with how he's had this budget presented.
Didn't we appoint a lieutenant Monday night? Or am I missing something, Jeff?
Oh, you're right.
I thought we filled that position.
We filled the one position because the chief was the lieutenant, so we filled the lieutenant position that he was. The chief is still interested in filling the second lieutenant position with the vacant patrol position. Okay. And that's a conversation to have with the Board of Selectmen.
So, Jeff, do you see that conversation happening between now and town meeting, in which case I think that the budget for salaries might change, or do you suggest we move forward with the salary budget as proposed, and if that should happen before town meeting, we can make an adjustment later?
I don't know. I think we want to move that sooner than later. I think having a vacancy in a police department that's understaffed is always hard to manage. So the sooner we can resolve that, the better. The chief's taken some steps internally to address that position. So we'll be prepared to talk to the Board of Selectmen some more in an upcoming meeting.
So are the numbers right that were offered, though? We don't have to wait for the BOS to change this. So he had $28,000 for a second lieutenant position, It would get added to salaries, and then you'd cut overtime by $10,000, according to the numbers.
Yeah, I had talked to Earl though, and he wanted to go back and look at those numbers, so if you're looking to entertain that, we should wait so that we have actual numbers.
Can you get us the actual numbers?
I know that Earl's working on it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, by next week would be good, though.
As soon as
I know that's a tough ask.
Yeah, so we'll put a hold on 35 until we can figure out, where this is going and what number we might want to put it here. 36 would be the services and supplies piece, which is level funded for the most part.
So you're okay with going forward with 36?
I am.
All right, great. All right, fire department.
Can I say just one thing real quick, Mr. Chair?
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know, both the police department and the fire department are still in negotiations, so there's no, other than step movement for the unionized employees, there's no adjustment for the union employees.
Are we counting for the adjustments, though, in that line item, down, I forget what the exact cost, obligation, something like that?
I'm
Salary
sorry, I
obligation?
didn't get your question. I'm getting some feedback somewhere.
So I understand exactly what you're saying, but last year we intended to cover the cost of the negotiations in a line item, I can't find it, called like salary obligations. Are we doing that this year as well?
No.
So you're going to come back, that's the purpose of the two articles then on this town meeting?
Yes, hope springs eternal. We hope to have an agreement by June, but, we'll see. If not, we'll pull those out and wait for a special town meeting if we come to an agreement with either one of the groups.
And just out of curiosity, out of the $100,000 we put in there for the obligations, how much of it got spent with the new purchase, with the new salary structure?
Don't know. We had originally ran a number earlier in the process at implementation, but the later it got, that number became irrelevant. So, we're talking about April, May, and June, 3 months of an adjustment. I'm sure we can figure it out somewhere down the road, but we don't know that today.
Or you expect $100,000 is enough to cover it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So we had moved into the fire department. Mike?
That's me again. I still need to follow up with the chief again, but he did give his presentation at our budget meeting. This is the year that we pay the full cost of the SAFER grant, so we're seeing that impact in there. And this is also where he was looking to create a deputy fire chief position. If not, he would fill a vacancy from the retiring inspector with an entry-level position. So, Jeff, is that something that's still being discussed with the board as to how to fill that position?
They're still discussing that position.
And right now, in our department, we already have a second lieutenant for the police, but we do not have a deputy chief position yet.
We do not.
But you have, what are the positions we have for each one of those crews that's on duty? You have a senior member there.
It's a lieutenant.
Lieutenants for each shift.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, in this, you know, for the police department, that second lieutenant is a position that's already in the structure somewhere. It's already in the flow chart, or however you want to do it, of the town. This position isn't there yet, but I mean, there's no reason we couldn't add it. So
Right.
depending on the costs and stuff.
Yep. So this is another one that I think we should place a hold on the salary line item so that we can figure out what's going on with that position, and then account for it in the budget as we get closer to wrapping this up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then purchase of services down 8,000. We took he had a couple of one-time costs that came out there. The implementation. Other than that, this is a series of annual inspections and other related expenses that they incur, and all the other maintenance-related items are pretty much level funded. Same thing with on the supply side, predominantly a level funded budget for the fire department.
Okay. So any other questions related to the expenses of the fire department?
The money for the safer contracts, that goes straight into salaries, right?
Larry, wait, time out, I'm sorry. Larry, we're getting feedback from you, so if you're on the phone, can you turn the speakers on your computer down, please?
Okay. Mute the phone. So Bruce, the SAFER program had us go back and hire 4 full-time employees, and the funds would come, so we would pay for those, the funds would come back and offset the cost of those salaries there. Now we're at the end of the grant, we no longer get, reimbursement for a portion of those costs.
I get it. I'm sorry, I forgot that. Thanks, Mike. That's all I have.
So it felt like we got 4 free employees at the start of this thing,
Yeah,
but we pretty much
did we get all 4?
we're taking on the obligation for 4 for an extended period. We just got a little softening of the initial expense up front.
Deal.
Building inspector. Jim?
Yes, and I think, this is one we might have to put in abeyance for, because as far as I know, Nelson's on leave. We're bringing in a part-time inspector that we hired, I think, Monday night, Jeff, at the Board of Selectmen meeting, to come in 2 days a week. And Cindy is doing a lot of stuff, so she's alone in that office. So there is nobody. There is no building inspector active at the moment, and I don't know what the prognosis is. Are we advertising for that job, Jeff? Are we looking for a replacement for Nelson?
Nelson's on leave right now, so the interim is interim. We will probably bring a reserve fund transfer to you later in the year to cover the cost of the interim and the adjustments to Cindy's wages, as she, the interim's only part-time. So that's where we are with that department right now.
So as far as approving that salary, I haven't talked to anybody over there because there's no one to talk to. Nelson's not there.
It's
So we just want to put this on
it's
hold for a
consistent
moment.
with the pay plan.
I know that. I did the arithmetic, but there's no guarantee. Is it his intention to come back? Do you know?
He's on family medical leave right now.
Okay. So if we wanted to, that's in line with all the other salaries to the pay plan. So we could, in fact, approve that. Cindy's is in line with, although hers is in line with, I think, a change in grade. Did we upgrade her to a higher admin level? I'm not sure, because I haven't been over there to talk to anybody. Okay, so that's consistent with that. So I guess, under the assumption that the position is going to be filled at that salary, if we wanted to, we could approve that. The purchase of services are, I have to go back to I haven't really spent much time with this because I knew he was gone. So, purchase of services is up, compared to last year, because the code books, it's strictly a matter of, they have to buy code books, which is a periodic thing, it has to be done, but otherwise, it's pretty consistent with what it's been in the past, outside of the salary increases. So, I suppose if we're comfortable with that, with the uncertainty of who's going to be running that office down the road, but.
So Jim, this is Mike. I think we have uncertainty in every single one of these department lineups. Robert could retire tomorrow, and who's going to fill a position in July or August. And we run down the list. Anyone happens here. So we've got a salary line item for what Jeff expects he needs for that position. If there's a change in personnel and he needs more money, there's an opportunity for him to move money around the budget to cover that, or to come back and get extra money.
If Nelson doesn't come back and we bring somebody else in, it may be for more or less money, depending on the experience and so forth. So if we want to
The building inspector, wait a minute, time out. The building inspector is on leave right now.
that's my
That's where
understanding.
I'm leaving that conversation.
Yep.
Okay, one question for that though, is he on leave with pay? How what that means?
He has his time, he's spending his leave time on his leave. Family medical leave, you're allowed 12 weeks a year as a municipal employee to take family medical leave. If you have leave accumulated, vacation or sick time, you can use that to continue to be paid during your leave period.
Okay.
If he has paid time off in his leave bank, he can use that while he's out on FMLA.
Any employee can do that
No.
on a family
That's right.
medical leave. That's a universal construct.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand, okay. Perfect.
So if we're comfortable with that,
So 39 and 40 are good then to go.
and again, I haven't been down there, but if you look at the next two, the seal of weights and measures, and it all falls in the same range, and it's pretty flat. There's no changes.
All right, so that's 41. All right.
41, that's 41 and 42 and 43.
Okay. Anyone, any questions on 41, 42, and 43? All right. Tree warden.
I have not spoken to the tree warden yet.
Okay, we'll skip those two. So,
So the budget for the tree warden is a level
Pretty flat.
funded level services budget. There was no changes. It mirrors last year's.
And it looks like it mirrors what we've typically done. This is roughly the annual expenditures we make to maintain trees. To the extent that and there's some other stuff that happens sometimes through betterment and
Right.
other funds there.
Right, this budget is supplemented through the betterment funds.
Yeah, and this is one where, if we wanted to give him $50,000, he'd find $50,000 worth of tree work that needed to be done. So I have no problem with this budget as presented.
well, okay, so my question is, did the tree warden have input into this budget?
Yes, he did.
So then, anyone else with questions for 44 and 45? No, moving on.
And we have funded that heavily in the past, because you remember, Tom came to us, he needed $250,000 to take down dead trees a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 46, 47, 48 of the education budget.
Yes, that's my account.
Yes, you have feedback, Larry. You need to turn down either your speakers or pick up your phone and talk right into it.
How's it issue?
Sounds okay.
Is that all right?
No, I'm getting an echo again.
I did nothing and suddenly here we are. Well, I'll be brief, and I realize it's taxing on your ears. This account has been covered pretty thoroughly, I think, and I suggest that we okay it with the understanding that there are factors beyond local control involving COVID. And should those factors arise, we'll just deal with them as time goes by.
So you're recommending approving it as it's written in here? My only question is I guess, do we have any plans, or do we know if we're going to have a need to go after that $167,000 we're entitled to?
We won't know till we get the guidance on the FEMA or the new American CARES Act or whatever it's called, FEMA, federal money. I guess you
I thought I saw something.
it's always available to you, regardless of what happens with the other dollars.
Right, but it would budget if we took out the 167.
We did not.
The CARES Act is the 1.9 trillion
Yes.
package.
The town of Sturbridge, in some form or fashion, will receive $2.8 million from that allocation, some of which can be used for revenue replacement, dollar for dollar lost on some formula. And then there's a host of other potential uses which we have yet to be educated on. But it's to be spent over two or three fiscal years, 2 years, something like that.
2, according to the Saturday meeting. All right, 46, 47, 48, complete. DPW. So Barbara, you know, unfortunately for Karen's apps, you mind hitting the highlights here?
There's really nothing, well, I shouldn't say that, there's a few things. So we've continued with the practice of slightly increasing the snow and ice overtime to keep up with the general wage adjustments so that we don't fall behind in that area. There is $4,000 in this budget for stormwater sampling under the MS4 program. And every 5 years, we are required to conduct dam inspections.
Mm-hmm.
So there's $12,000 in the budget for that, and I think Butch talked about that at the Saturday meeting. And then the cost for vehicle maintenance, fleet vehicle maintenance, which was in central purchasing before, has been moved to the DPW budget.
Okay. Anyone with questions on line items 49 through 52? Okay, so we'll consider that good. All right, landfill recycling. Yeah.
That's mine. I did not get a chance to reach out to Linda yet.
Okay.
But there was nothing that stood out by me. So if anyone has questions, I'm happy to field them. So I can talk with Linda, but I haven't had time to do that.
I guess the question is purchase of services, right?
Right, purchase of services, probably for both.
Yeah, and that just looks like their cover materials costing them more money this year with,
It's because the DPW, and Jeff will have to help me here, but we're not using sand anymore to treat the roads. And so they were using part of that as cover material.
Yeah, they used to use road spoils from the sweeping the streets up after winter to cover the landfill. That material is no longer available since we're using mostly salt.
Yeah, I think that started last year, right?
Yeah.
So listen, Mike, I have no issues on the typical budget that we're seeing here, but I I do know last year that we funded a drone study of the landfill. So it'd be nice to get a little bit of feedback on what's coming down the road, how much space do we have, are the big expenditures coming, or other issues that board is facing that might have a financial impact in some upcoming budget, just as a kind of like a status update.
Noted. And the drone study is happening right now, that study, and I did mention to Ken after the Saturday meeting that there would probably be questions regarding it, but he is still, we don't have the results of that yet, so it might be a little premature to have that conversation.
So, Joni, do you want to go forward with 53 and 54, or do you want to wait?
Well, I didn't have any issue with it. Barbara pointed out the cost, and that was for the sand, and that happened last year. I still want to just get an okay from Linda and make sure that I'm not seeing anything that I should.
So you want to hold up?
Well, if you were planning on voting for everything en masse at the end of this, I would rather remove landfill and Board of Health until I can get some things just, I just want to be comfortable.
Yep, nope, that's fine. All right, so 53 and 54 are out. All right, so we'll do the same thing with 55 and 56 and 57 because those are all Board of Health.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you.
And there's also going to be a slight adjustment to the salaries and wages for the landfill based on, again, the vote of the Board of Selectmen on Monday night. So that number will be changing, and I'll have that for you next week.
Perfect. Okay. Inspection and testing. That part of the Board of Health one? Yeah.
It is, but that's the salary of the health inspector, and that number is consistent with the plan.
You can go ahead with that one.
All right, so 58 to go. Okay. Council on Aging.
That's the case. And I did talk to Leslie for a few minutes at least. One thing that she did note was in the salaries and wages account, it is less because the custodian was taken out and put into the facilities budget. And so the personnel costs are mostly reflect increases in her salary, in the department head salary, and that's consistent, I believe, with the with the salary reconfiguration. Under bottom part, in supplies, they actually cut out the newspapers altogether because they still are very unsure on when people will actually be back into the senior center. So that part was zeroed out. And then the other thing that went down a bit was, I guess that was it. Looking there.
Okay. So anyone questions for Kathy on 59 and 60? All right, then. So we're good with 59 and 60. Moving into vet services. That looks pretty level. Anyone with any questions on 61 and 62?
I just question about their proposal from last meeting, which created the, not the gold star, but the new classification. But no money was attached to it when it was passed. So I'm curious if we're going to try and do that.
Wasn't that in they got it, basically their property taxes wiped off if you were Gold Star family. So it would be in the budget. It'd be a loss of revenue.
Well, it's funded through the overlay account, and I know that we had at least one.
One family.
One, yes, but I do not know what the cost was of that abatement. I can find out if you,
No, it was just something I'm just trying to figure out for myself mostly, but
okay.
I would go out of my way.
Yeah, so at the time that article came and there was some back and forth and discussion on it, I think the issue was there was one family in town and some folks were bringing this forward to assist that family, although, the bylaw wasn't, specific to one family. It could be anybody, and there was a concern about how many more people are going to move in here and take advantage of this. So it sounds like a year later, the one family that was eligible has taken advantage of the eligibility. We haven't seen a large influx of people coming to Sturbridge just to take advantage of that, and it hasn't expanded beyond that at this stage anyway.
Right. Okay, thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Mike.
So we're good with 61 and 62. All right, Joshua Hyde Library Operations. Kathy? You're on mute.
I am. Yes. Again, I didn't get a chance to talk to Becky, but pretty much, actually, everything's fairly level funded except for the salaries. And again, I'm assuming those are consistent with the salary plan. The library purchase of services went down very slightly. It looks like C.W. Mars he went down just a touch, like not even $100. And then library materials went up, but that has to be 19% of the budget, right, Barbara? Of the library budget. I'm not unsure of that. But that's by statute.
Yes, if we want to continue to get our state aid to libraries, we have to fund at this level.
Mm-hmm. Right. And is that based on the entire rest of the library budget? Is that how it's done?
It's based on, yes, it's based on this budget and the building budget, yes.
Oh, and the building budget too, okay.
Yes.
So it's 19, for the town of Sturbridge, it's 19%. So that's why it's up $5,000. Otherwise, and then the other charges, membership, travel, et cetera, are pretty much level funded. In fact, they're a bit down, in fact, too. It's not a significant amount.
That's 63 and 64.
So Barbara, this is Mike, I just want to confirm, the salaries reflect a new structure, but there are no new positions added to the library this year?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions related to the operations? All right, recreation.
Yeah, that's me,
Okay.
Jim. I haven't had a chance to meet with Annie yet, but if you look at the detail, D37, I can say, for instance, the salaries, wages for summer rec, that's the increase in minimum wage that continues. The state minimum wage continues to go up every year. I'm not quite sure what it is. I think it's at least 50 cents. Barbara, do you know what it is this year?
It goes up 75 cents every year till we hit $15.
Okay. So that 75 cents probably covers that full increase, I would guess.
It does. That is the only increase, and all the positions are adjusted because there's a differential between the play leaders, the lifeguards, and then the rec coordinator. So that reflects everything based on minimum wage. We are not able to vote on the salaries, though, because I need to make an adjustment to the department head position based on the vote on Monday night.
And that's based on the sheet that Jeff showed earlier this evening that showed that Annie was grossly below the minimum entry level for the new rate system. So she's going to get up to under the new system. I think, Jeff, if I'm reading this correctly, it's a step 2.
That's correct.
She was off the charts. Yep. Okay. So as far as that's concerned, we are not going to be debating that, I don't think, because that's a prescribed number. If you look under the purchase of services, there's a couple of slight increases. lawn care, and we're talking small numbers. The only big one is the bench, and that's a bit benches for the ball field. It's a one-time purchase. It's the Turner's Field, so that's the only significant increase on it. It's not
Are
described
those
by
the
the
benches
by
with the
wages.
front umbrella? Is that those benches they talked about?
I don't know that. Those are the ones, though, if you remember, Kevin, that they've already got them at the Little League ball fields, and they've got them at the Lassie League ball fields, and they have them actually over at the Town Barn fields. Now, the baseball field at Town Barn has dugouts, but if you go to the far end, where they have the other field on the other far end, they have the type of fencing, the overhead construction where you could pull canvas over it to cover it. So I'm not sure what these are. I'm not sure. And I could ask, if you want to postpone it to ask.
No, I'm
question,
okay.
but
I'm just curious.
I don't know, because I haven't been able to hook up with Annie. All I had left was her and Nelson, for that matter, so.
So do you want to wait on these, Jim?
Do we want to wait over 1,500? Well, we have to wait on the salaries until Barbara comes back with the real number.
Right. I have that in my hold column.
So I don't know that we have to hold, line 66, unless we want an answer on the $1,500 for the benches.
I'm okay with it. Anybody else?
She's going to do
This
that.
is Mike. Unless you're going to tell me it's going to be 1,400 or whatever, I don't necessarily need a detailed description of the make, model, and shape and features of the bench. $1,500 for a bench is that an appropriate expenditure? Yes.
I would think so.
Yeah.
The bench is horizontal, not vertical. That's all I can say.
It would be a bleacher if it went that way.
If you've seen the benches over there right now, you wouldn't want to sit on them.
Right.
So the next one is Trails Committee, and that's zeroed out. Is that because the committee's defunct?
No, they got their money from
No.
CPC.
Okay, so funded by CPC now.
Well, not to say they won't come back for funds in a future year, but they were not looking for any funding through the budget process this year.
Okay. 67 is good. Historical Committee. It's historical. I don't think that's listed anywhere. Okay.
And historical, that is level funded based on the previous year.
And do they actually meet?
Yes.
Okay. So any questions on 68? No. 69 and 70, interest and service, that's Kathy.
Yeah, this is like, isn't this just, it is what it is? We're still paying the debt, we're still paying the interest. There's nothing new on this list. It's just, this is the numbers for this year.
It went down though.
Yeah.
Well, interest goes down as you pay off the principal.
Right, the principal would stay the same, but the interest would go down because you're paying, it's like on your
You're paying
mortgage.
level principal.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, that's true.
All right. I was expecting a bigger number, but I guess that's what we get. All right.
Wait till we do the
A bigger
CPC.
number of-
Get a big number. Woohoo!
Okay. We'll see when that shows up. 69 and 70. That's good to go, Mike, and I get that in the thing. So, all right, unclassified.
That me too? Good grief.
Yeah, that's you.
Gee, you gave me a lot. Unclassified, what's the retirement went up quite a bit. And the Medicare tax went up, but what's the retirement is just, that's basically a bill they send us, right?
It is. It's an annual assessment. Yep.
And then you're going to see the engineering professional services for 20,000, which last year was somewhere else. Jeff, where was that? Was that in your budget?
It was in conservation and it was in DPW.
Yeah, okay.
So,
And-
is this fine? Mike, did you have a question?
I did.
Oh, go ahead.
So Jeff, the big standout in this line item is level funded health insurance, right? So, I know you have an explanation and maybe you should provide it here again, but, I think we're just getting lucky this year because this is a number that always goes up and always goes up a big piece. I don't know when our contract ends and when a big decision is to shifting carriers and trying to save some money or changing the elements of the plan, which may put a little bit more burden on employees are. But, this one looks like, hey, this is great. It's level funded. Aren't we good? I think we just take advantage of the opportunity we have this year and what's really driving that.
Barbara can explain that.
So yes, we are lucky that that number is level funded. Maya has offered a health holiday. Last year they gave us 50% reduction in 1 month's worth of premiums. This year they're giving us 1 full month of no premiums. So we'll only pay for 11 months of insurance instead of 12, which is very generous. So that played into it. And then we had people drop off our plan. So our enrollment numbers are lower than they were last year. And so all those things factor into how much money we needed.
And the holiday, are they just being nice guys? Because our group claims under the policy are less than they expected, and therefore they're making a little bit extra profit off the town, and this is their way to keep us in there. What drives the holiday?
We're part of a trust with, I don't know how many other towns, but a lot. And so they are using reserves, and I don't know all the details of it, but their board of directors voted to offer that full health holiday for 1 month for fiscal 22.
It sounds cool.
In all the years that I have been doing this, the 50% holiday in fiscal 21 was the first time I've ever seen such a thing. I've never seen that before. So, you know what? I think it's great, and I said thank you. Because that helped.
So, moving the engineering and professional services line item here, does that open up the funds more to more departments because this is more generic?
Yeah.
So you said basically it's used by DPW, so anyone could use this now.
Yeah, it still has to go through my office as the purchasing agent, but yes, it opens it up to any department that needs engineering services.
So the control there is people can't just tap the funds; they have to get your permission to tap it, and you're managing a $20,000 budget. And why did we put that here versus in your budget section?
Barbara wanted to.
That's right.
I understand, man. You need no more. Okay.
It makes sense when you're going to have multiple departments do something that you try not to put it into a specific department.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it would make my budget go way up. What's that town administrator doing, getting $20,000 more in his budget? What's going on over there?
So, just
So even though Jeff is really the controller of it, it's a multi-department fund, not a fund out of his group. Okay, thank you.
but historically, how much have we spent on engineering and professional services?
It depends on the year and what's going on, but you can't tie the hands of the departments that if they need some engineering, if it's not spent, then it closes out and we'll go into free cash. We don't utilize it for something else.
But you think $20,000 is adequate based on our experience trying to use these type of funds?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had these discussions last year and the year before. Well, why is 5,000 in your budget? Well, I don't have anything specific in mind, and we try to wipe it out. Or they come back and say, I got something for this year. A need came up, I didn't have any money in the budget. So this is the culmination of that discussion from last year that makes
I
sense.
don't have a problem with it. I'm just curious, based on historical usage of this type of funds, do we have enough, or, are we just going to start with this and see where we go?
One year you could
I think
wash
it's
out a
something
road
Rob
that,
needs.
you need to spend 30 grand on engineering to fix the road. You're going to have nothing. You just don't know, right? A bridge falls apart, that kind of stuff. Who knows? And engineering includes electrical, mechanical, for buildings, it's all kinds of stuff. Robin needed some money for her facilities to do some HVAC work in some buildings, structural issues, how to fix the COB so you don't get mold in the basement anymore. That's an HVAC ventilation issue, those kind of things.
Okay. I think having her as a resource will allow us to use that fund much more efficiently than we could before.
So any other questions on line item 71? All right, 72, central purchasing.
Yeah, that's me too. So, had a ton of variance. Back in is the slate roof that seemed to have dropped out for a year, 7,000, and took out fleet vehicles. Not really sure why, and also increasing the window cleaning. Are we have more windows to clean, or is the
No,
price?
so the window cleaning is every other year, so 22 will be the year. And the fleet vehicles was moved to the DPW budget.
And the trash removal, why did that go down?
We put that out to bid last year. We were spending a lot of money. We didn't have one central contract. And so last year, remember, we moved the trash and recycling services from the individual budgets into this budget. And so this was Robin's recommendation, so she must have been able to save some additional money in other areas.
So it's only got 9,300 altogether. Electric is pretty much level funded.
Yeah, but we spent 99,000 in 1 year. Is that 80,000 enough for electricity?
And don't we have a pending request or a warrant article asking for money to apply towards the electric bill? I thought I saw something to that effect.
Jeff, do you want to talk, or am I talking?
I'll explain it. Give me 2 minutes of explanation. We have these contracts for energy credits, right? Different solar farms. And the assumption is when we sign the contracts that those credits would be applied towards our energy accounts with National Grid and we would save money. That's the assumption. What happened was there were some implementation issues years ago and the company charged us incorrect rates and the credits went to the wrong account. So as we sit here, Larry, I'm going to turn off your speaker, or I'm going to mute you for a minute, okay? All right, so sitting here today, we have $175,000 of energy credits that we can't spend with National Grid. Now, we fixed the problem going forward where we've rebalanced those accounts against the correct energy account. So we should see savings going forward, but up until today, we've been spending more money than the 80 grand. So for this year, we need to do a reserve fund transfer to pay the bill, but next year, those credits should be applied appropriately, and we should save money. Then we have to figure out how to spend the $175,000 of credits we have with National Grid. Make sense?
Bob, just a question. Does Blue Wave come to mind? Does that sound like a familiar name, Blue Wave? Were they the consultant we used in this deal?
No, they're not a consultant. They're one of the projects that was called Blue Wave.
Right.
Yeah.
Amoresco bought Blue Wave, and during the implementation process, there was a mix-up. There was actually a $45,000 bill that could have gone to the town to pay Amoresco back because they were incorrectly billing. We got them to waive that bill. So now we're trying to somehow figure out how to save $175,000 with National Grid by using these credits. But the most important thing was to rebalance the credits against the electric accounts that can actually save us some money. And that's been done.
So, Kevin, I'm going to have to check out here. Sorry about that.
It's okay. All right.
Thanks a lot.
So, do we get enough in credits that could actually zero this line item?
No. Once we apply the credits to the right account, there's really not enough spend because the credits are only a portion of the energy cost. They're not 100% of the energy cost, right? So we should be able to see some reduction. We just don't know how much because we haven't had a full year of the credits going against the right accounts. Until we go through a cycle or two, we won't know.
So I'm assuming when you say the right accounts, that includes the general government, water, and sewer.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Are we seeing, good savings in the water and sewer? Because I know, the sewer is a huge electric cog.
I don't know. Barbara, do you know?
Well, we're seeing savings. So when all this was originally put in place, they put together what's called a Schedule Z. And that Schedule Z allocates the amount of credits to each of your electric bills. And that Schedule Z, that was done through a consultant, and it didn't work out exactly as planned. And so we have some bills that have large credits that we don't pay anything on, but the credits are greater, then it'll take forever and maybe never to use up all the credits on the bills. And so that's what Jeff's talking about. We now did a new Schedule Z so that going forward, we shouldn't be building up these high levels of credits on some of the bills. But what we're trying to work through now, what Jeff is working on with Chris, the accountant, and the consultant, is trying to move these credits to some of the bills that we still pay on, so that we can actually see that savings of what we've already accumulated, and then moving forward, we won't build up such high credit. So if all that happens, the $80,000 would be enough money in the general fund.
So,
And we may need more money, and the reason that we put up an article potentially on a special town meeting is because we had hoped that we had cut the budget for fiscal 22 down to 80 because we had hoped all this would be resolved quickly, but unfortunately, it's taking a lot of time to get this all to happen.
but are we in any danger of losing any of those credits, or are they ours in perpetual?
They're ours.
Okay, good.
We were actually getting more credits than we were supposed to. So it was a mess.
And it's a very complicated system. It's very hard to. It's just very difficult.
I got a word for it. It rhymes with Fonzie.
Ah. Okay.
But it's not.
All right, any other questions?
If it's done properly, we'll save some money. We just got to figure out. We just got to get it structured properly. That's all.
We just convert the entire fleet vehicles to electric, put in an electric station, and we can get back some of those things faster.
You bet.
All right. So any other questions related to line item 72? No? All right. So Mike, I'm going to...
I'm going to make a motion here.
Wait.
Yep.
Here's how I was thinking of doing it. We've got the entire line item budget. Just identify the holds and everything else we do. I've done that. So I've got 6, 17, 19, 21, 22, 23, 35, believe that's 37, although sometimes my handwriting kills me. 53, 54, 55, 56.
Okay, all right. So instead of, so you don't want the line number and the exact dollar amount to be reflected in our vote here, do you? Because I was going to give you a motion that gave the line item number and the dollar amount, so it lined up in case we want to go back and change it. But if you want me to just vote line items, I can do that.
So that at least you got the dollar figure too. Go for it. I'll let you do it.
All right. So Joanne, I'm gonna, the motion, I'll list line items and dollar amounts. If typically in the minutes, you put a description as to what the line item is, you can add that in there as part of the minutes, but I'm not gonna include it here tonight. So the motion I'm gonna make is that the Finance Committee recommend the town meeting, approve, line 4 in the amount of $3,873, line 5 in the amount of $3,400, line 7 in the amount of $3,650, line 8 the amount of $123,985, line 9 in the amount of $33,791, line 10 in the amount of $242,305, line 11 in the amount of $33,500, line 12 in the amount of $110,000, line 13 in the amount of $71,236, line 14 in the amount of $133,224, line 15 in the amount of $116,954, line 16 in the amount of $4,480, line 18 in the amount of $14,067, line 20 in the amount of $8,385, line 24 in the amount of $29,665, line 25 in the amount of $2,750, line 26 in the amount of $129,079, line 27 in the amount of $12,550, line 28 in the amount of $37,970, line 29 in the amount of $32,980, line 30 in the amount of $24,910, line 31 in the amount of $24,920, line 32 in the amount of $88,853, line 33 in the amount of $3,580, line 34 in the amount of $0, line 36 in the amount of $293,867, line 38 in the amount of $187,662, line 39 in the amount of $134,529, line 40 in the amount of $5,359, line 41 in the amount of $5,050, line 42, $5,350, yes.
Great.
Line 42 in the amount of $50,000, line 43 in the amount of $3,278, line 44 in the amount of $8,963, line 45 in the amount of $18,816, line 46 in the amount of $12,379,567, line 47 in the amount of $7,825,400. $7,825,400. Line 48 in the amount of $6,000. Line 49 in the amount of $981,603. Line 50 in the amount of $183,550. Line 51 in the amount of $6,000. Line 52 in the amount of $221,250. Line 58 in the amount of $51,047. Line 59 in the amount of $142,094. Line 60 in the amount of $8,565. Maybe there was a shorter way. Line 61, $9,844. Line 62, $61,125. Line 63, $402,757. Line 64, $130,672. Line 66, $24,422. Line 67, 0. Line 68, $2,050. Line 69, $1,085,000. Line 70, $336,443. Line 71, $4,486,324. And line 72 in the amount of $328,300.
Okay, do I have a second to all that?
Second.
All right, Kathy. All right. All right. HKN. Any further discussion? All right, so Bruce is gone, so we're down to 6. All right, Mike.
Yes.
Tony.
Yes?
Larry.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
I'm yes. Jim.
Yes.
So that's 6-0.
Larry, we can still hear you through the phone.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Chair, is
So,
that
Joanne, I assume, Joanne, you can follow that, but if you had any questions, reach out to me during the week and we'll straighten it out.
All right. So we do have warrant articles, but since we got a huge chunk of that done, we'll save that for a week because it's already like 3 hours into this almost.
Yeah.
Huh?
Good place to stop, I was going to say, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking too. So we got annual special scheme, we'll take that up. We did get meeting minutes, right, from Joni? I need to go to the right place to find them. Come on, Kevin. There we go.
I have one correction that I found, it's just a typo.
It's March 4th, right?
Page 1, where it says vote for committee vice chairman nomination. At the end of the sentence, it says LW, move the motion to close nominations. I believe that should say LM, not LW. It was Larry Morrison, I believe. And other than that, I found nothing else.
It could have been Jim Wattis, though.
Well, in my own favor? I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
It's typically Larry that opens them and closes them in the end. I would think it was Larry that does it.
Yep,
Yeah, it was.
it was Larry. It was Larry again. It's always Larry.
All right. So other than the identified corrections, anyone else have any questions or comments in the minutes of March 4th?
No, they are fine. Can I move a motion to accept as amended?
Sure.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Kathy? All right. Any further discussion? So I do this in roll call too, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let me go back to the extensions over here. All right, so Mike,
Yes.
Joni,
Yes?
Larry,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Kevin's a yes. Jim?
Yes.
All right, so that's 6-0. All right. New business and old business. Just a couple quick notes. Like, you know, we have the new member is Joe Freitas. Couldn't make it tonight, but he should be here next week. There's also, I've had an email request from, I guess, an individual for himself and a group to meet with us discussing the purchase of the land on Old Farm Road and off of Fisk Hill Road. And my idea is we'll take that up on April 29th since I can't participate. And I would have to recuse myself, but I can't be here on the 29th, and Jim's going to run the meeting. So it looks like the perfect date for us to do that. And other than that, I have no other new business at this point in time I can think of. Anybody else got anything?
I will be abstaining.
You'll be
Go ahead,
abstaining.
Joni. I'll be abstaining on that issue for the 29th of April, which means with two of us, you and Kevin and myself, abstaining or you're absent, we got to be sure that there's a quorum.
Well, on that particular night, all I have so far, because people were sending me the dates they couldn't be here, on that night I have no Kevin and no Karen. So that we're down to 7 at that point. So, you know, 2 other people could not show. And that'd be it.
Yeah, but when I abstain, I'm also not going to speak on the issue.
Right.
No, but
you're
Larry,
still-
when you abstain, you're part of the quorum.
Yeah.
Just abstain.
Okay, thank you.
You're part of the quorum, but I guess you could be a deal breaker.
So, Joni, you had a point you wanted to make?
Well, I'm glad that, yes, I do, and I'm glad that the person, hopefully the people who are looking to buy the property is coming forward, which is good, and I would actually like to, well, I mean, never. I just hope that there's enough information that we can make a good decision for these people. That's all.
Well, you know, there's a warrant article that's been distributed today that would have the CPC purchase it.
I saw that.
Let me ask Jeff a question, please. Jeff, did this group address the Board of Selectmen Monday night? Am I mistaken on that? Or was it the planning board they talked to? But I remember watching them discuss how they wanted to buy the 4 lots, build a house on one, and put a tree farm on the rest. Am I thinking about the right people?
There was
I forget which meeting it was. But
Part of the right of first refusal process is a public hearing. The potential
that's the one
buyer
I watched.
spoke at the public hearing about his plans for the parcel. So that information was provided to the board before they made the decision to move forward and purchase the property.
And was that this past Monday night at that meeting on the 5th?
It was part of the public hearing. The potential buyer spoke at the public hearing.
So we should be able to at least watch that on television when it comes up on the video on demand on our cable channel
And yes.
segment. Okay.
But
But I
there was
wouldn't
no
be able to
formal, wait a
see
minute, time
that.
out. There's no formal presentation from the buyer. He just spoke at the public hearing.
Right.
Do you know who the buyer is, Jeff? Do you have contact with him?
Yes.
But the reason why I say that is he should be aware too then that we'll take this up on the 29th so that he could have, you know, in all fairness, be here to talk to his side as well.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I'm getting at, Kevin. I would really like to have the people who want to purchase the land, you know, for themselves as a home. I would like them to be there, or at least certainly know what's going on.
Because the people who reached out to me are the people who want to buy it for open space. So there's a town board and I guess someone who lives next to Larry. So I'd like to be able to have this other individual come and represent his position as well. It only seems fair. You
Well,
reach out to Jeff?
I'm sorry?
Well, yeah, okay, you will? Great. So it'll be, let's just say it's the 29th at 7 PM, so we can open the meeting, Jim, and then we'll just have that conversation at 7. Does that work, or 6:45?
Whatever time we start the meeting, we can have that first on the agenda.
All right, why don't we do that? I'll say 6:35 after you do the roll call, and I'll call at least the people who contacted me and say that's when we'll take it up at 6 on that day.
And we'll just share with them this contact information that Alex sent to you, that you forwarded to us to get onto this online meeting. So,
I was going to ask Jeff how that works. I don't think that's how that works.
or they just call in.
Yeah. So Jeff, if we're going to have, all these people, I'm going to assume, one person wants to buy it for private use, and then several people for buying it for public use. How do we get them all in this meeting? Do they dial into the public number?
Well, what I would do is I would ask you, the person that contacted you, pick a representative, and we give them the go-to meeting access. I give it to the potential buyer. His name is Josh Wages. And those two can join you in the meeting. If anybody else wants to participate, they can be on the public line.
All right, sounds fair. I'll let the guy's
You gotta
name-
give me who that is so we can send them the go-to meeting link.
Okay. Right.
And so my understanding is that the person who wants to purchase it for private use will also get the link to join?
Yeah, that's what Jeff just said.
Okay, and I would like, well, I guess, if he can't attend, I would like to hold off on the vote until we can actually hear from him as well.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm willing to entertain that. That's fine. We know that he's already presented once, and if the 29th doesn't work for us, we'll figure something out where we can get him.
There's the deadline for the book, of course.
Yeah, well, that's why the meetings are scheduled like they are, to account for the deadline for the book. May 6th is really the last official Thursday meeting. We could sneak in one that next week, but I prefer not to, because I'd like a couple of weeks to work on the book. So the way I have it scheduled out gives me enough weeks, 2 weeks to put the book together and 2 weeks to have it out in public hands.
Sorry, Kevin, who's working on the book?
Good question, Joni. I haven't figured that one out yet. I'm sure it's going to be a team effort, because I haven't done the book in 4 years, so I have no idea what to do with it.
Joni, ask for more money. Get more money this year.
Yeah.
I'll buy her a mimosa. Okay, so if there's no new business, anyone got old business? All right, good. This is public access. Is there anyone on the phone, Jeff?
Is there a way that I can watch that Board of Selectmen meeting? I don't have cable.
You can get it on the YouTube.
Yeah, if you go on the town website and click on demand, and you'll see the meetings.
Yeah.
They'll all come up.
YouTube channel.
That's how-
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel, too.
Okay.
Good evening, is there anyone on the,
That's how I
Schedule.
good evening?
It's not
is there
even up
anyone
on the
public
list
line
yet.
that would like to address the Finance Committee? There's no public comment, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Just, Joni, you have to, if you go on the town website and go to the appropriate location, you can go in and see what's available. That one's not available yet. I've been checking it. It's only been a couple of days. So they didn't put it up.
Okay.
They seem to put up the Conservation Commission right away, but the rest of the meetings take a week or so.
Well, I'm assuming that this was actually discussed at Conservation as well, right?
May
Yes.
not have had to be. That's what-
Well, but they're supporting aren't they the one putting forth
CPA.
the article?
CPA.
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 CPA. So would they not have discussed, so sorry, wouldn't they discuss it at the, you said Conservation, I
You
apologize.
said Conservation. You said Conservation.
Sorry.
Conservation did support the purchase of the property.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin, I'm sorry, one more thing. I meant to, my head is, I'm tired. Jeff, you had made a comment, that the people put in the purchase before before the town wanted to buy it or something? What was the timeline? Can you just tell me?
Well, it doesn't work that way. So the land is in chapter land, chapter 61A.
61,
When you move land from chapter land, the town gets the right of first refusal if you're gonna sell it. So what happens is the buyer and the seller and the buyer come to a purchase and sale agreement for a price and conditions. That gets submitted to the town, and the town gets a first right, to purchase it at the price that the buyer and the seller agreed to. And that happens. So in this particular instance, the town said, yeah, we'll take it for $155, and knocks the buyer out of the process. That's what goes on.
Mike, is the buyer intending to take it out of chapter 61 or continue to leave it in there?
The Christmas tree farm would be eligible to be in chapter.
It would remain. Yeah, it would remain.
What I heard is we want to purchase it to put trails in there. More trails.
So just so I'm clear, if it's going to stay in, it's just changing ownership, but the new owner is going to continue to keep it in chapter 61. Are we sure that the town still has the right, that it has to go through the right of refusal process?
Yes.
Apparently it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is a very rigid and formal process that the, towns go through.
The town has lost all that tax money for all the years it's been in chapter 61. Don't they get reduced taxes or zero taxes?
Again, I think the issue is if you're going to take it out of chapter 61 for a different purpose, then we get to do that. But that's why I asked the question. They're going to continue to keep it. It's just changing ownership, but they want to continue to keep it 61. I don't think they have to do that. I've seen this happen elsewhere, where someone thought they had to make the right of first refusal, but they really didn't in the end.
The land is out of chapter land right now. The current owner allowed it to lapse.
Oh, okay. Same thing happened to Doty Road, was it Doty or Plimpton? Same thing happened there, where one of them left.
I don't know.
Didn't matter in the long run.
Don't know. But we have the right, the town has the right to purchase it at the agreed to price in the purchase and sale agreement. And the board voted to do that, and CPC voted to put a warrant article in to appropriate the money for it.
And that's what we'll take it up under, Jim, on that night at 6:35.
Great.
Okay. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have to roll call this too? Yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
Mike?
Evan, can you tell me who the motion was?
I made the motion.
Kathy?
Are you tired, Joanne?
If I'm not watching your mouth move, I just don't get it.
So Mike was a yes, I believe.
Mike votes yes.
Joni?
Johnny, yes.
Larry?
Yes, and Jeff, would you mind waiting after the meeting so that I can ask you a logistical question about GoToMeeting itself?
Okay.
Thank you, and I do vote yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Kevin's a yes. Jim?
Lee.
So we're adjourned at 9:30. All right.
Take care, everyone. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Bye, everybody.
Aye.
Aye.